What does it mean for music to be real? Because pop music definitely isn't. Today I'm gonna make the case for dark music, why we listen to it, what it does to the brain, as well as why I see it as a little bit of a hack for a emotionally balanced lifestyle. And I'm gonna back this up with some science that I'm gonna link to in the description. But what even is dark music? If you ask 10 people, you're gonna get 10 different answers. You can't really call it a genre, or you can't really call it a style. I would define it as more of an approach that embraces the unsettling, the melancholic, and the introspective. What I see as the through line between all dark music, gothic rock, or post-punk, dungeon synth, Memphis rap, whatever you want it to be, is that it all rejects subjects that have an easy answer to them. What the f*** happened to my whip, mine? Nasty. I was saying that dark music, in my opinion, is music that rejects the positive facade that dominates our current first world life. Dark music isn't there to entertain you, but rather to make you sit down with your difficult thoughts and emotions, process them, or even force physical expression. Something a bit like dark music is a bit of a safe place to explore subjects like grief, mortality, mysticism, the supernatural, and existential dread. And the emphasis is on safely, but we're going to get into that a bit deeper in a bit. First, we're going to talk about how dark music works on your brain. Dark music causes chemical reactions in your brain. It releases a cocktail of hormones like prolactin, oxytocin, and dopamine, which, to say it in an oversimplified way, means hormones that are associated with bonding, pleasure, and comfort. So this complex neurochemical response can cause a multifaceted emotional experience when listening to dark music. While listeners might experience depression and self-pity on a conscious plane, they simultaneously experience peacefulness and relaxation, which signals to the body that something positive is happening. Healing, for instance. Breakup songs, you know the ones you blast out when your soul is in severe pain. Instead of just spinning out in raw distress and disorientation, sad music actually gives our emotions a narrative to hook onto, which one, validates your feelings, and two, puts your thoughts into a linear order. Psychologists actually describe dark music as a social surrogate, something like a substitute for human comfort or an empathetic friend, which of course, music can never reach that. Still, it's something. Also, listening to a sad track simply blocks out the time for you to feel what you need to feel. Without that, you risk bottling everything up until it explodes in unhealthy ways. Suppressing anger, grief, trauma can obviously have a negative impact on mental health and lead to long-term anxiety and depression. But it can also impact your physical health because it can lead to hormonal and immune dysfunction, or at least dysregulation. There's even a temporary heart condition that's called broken heart syndrome or stress cardiomyopathy. Under severe emotional distress, it can mimic a mini heart attack with symptoms like chest pain, short breath, and irregular heartbeat. So any controlled outlet and secure environment for these overwhelming emotions should be used, if you ask me. If you don't mind me asking, what's your most healing dark song? You can drop a comment if you want. I would appreciate it. Despite everything I mentioned, mainstream culture treats dark music with suspicion at best and with outright rejection at worst. At the point we're at, we tend to want everything to present as bright, sanitized, cute, and digestible. Capitalism bombards us with polished aesthetics and a relentless positivity to the point where now happiness can't be trusted anymore. I'm honestly at a point where I can't even trust my own happiness. This is where dark music pushes back, because instead of pretending everything is amazing, it acknowledges the things that simply aren't. And that's super powerful. Simon May wrote a book called The Power of Cute, in which he argues that cuteness serves as a function to distract from the uncertainties of life. But dark music leans into this exact uncertainty. It sits with rage, with grief, and with existential doubt. And in doing so, it makes space for something real. I kind of do fuck with Hello Kitty though. At least I can identify with being useless. At this point, if I could kindly ask you to subscribe to the channel for no good reason. Distraction is a very valuable and crucial instrument for coping. Did I get distracted? Damn. Chucking in the bread with the plastic? But I do believe you shouldn't spend most of your time distracted, neither from your inner world nor from what's happening on the outside. And of course, that's particularly relevant in our era of social political turbulence. And speaking of which, beyond personal therapy, dark music has always served as a form of collective resistance. Singing the blues was a means of responding to the oppression and suffering of the black communities in the south of the US, but also of expressing dignity in the face of injustice. Punk was an expression of radical self-definition and a refusal to be shaped by the mainstream. A declaration that culture belongs to the people instead of the corporations and institutions. Gothic rock is a meditation of alienation, loneliness, and the fear of meaninglessness. And then, of course, there's black metal, a strong rejection of organized religion and the societal conformity that goes along with it. This historical context helps us understand dark music as less of an aesthetic preference, but more of a cultural tool for collective processing of trauma and articulating resistance to oppression. None of this is just edgy for the sake of being edgy, but dark music tells the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable. It doesn't try to make suffering palatable, nor does it rush to wrap up grief in a neat little bow. It lingers. I'd say dark music and arts in our current era are the most powerful leverage we have to combat toxic positivity and ignorance. As long as people are looking for something real, something that doesn't ignore the complexities of existence, they're gonna know to find it in the shadows.